And starting to the top left, we have the Startail Zerg player. It is
Startail Laipu.
one of the few winners of the Triple Crown. Was able to win major tournaments on 3 continents. Europe, America, and also of course within Asia. And he's up against his opponent for SKT1, starting to the bottom right of Star Station. Cross positioned it is.
SK Telecom T1 Su.
Su is a very intelligent player. My initial impressions of him is that he got a lot of build order wins. He was very clever. He used a lot of planning. But as I've watched him kind of develop as a player, I feel like his macro game has gotten much better. He switched over to StarCraft 2 much later than some of the other players, and of course much later than Life playing StarCraft 2. So he doesn't have as much experience, but he has been improving a lot.
Yeah, he definitely has, and he's one of those players who could definitely shake this group up a little bit. Life, of course, is one of the huge favorites to get out of the group, at least if you look at his past performance. I don't really think that he's really looking all that shaky these days, but he looks a little bit more human than usual, and that's very unusual for Life.
Yeah, he usually looks like an awesome robot. Here's again our zoom out. I really like we can see both the hatchery and the natural.
Yeah, I really love the new features that Blizzard has implemented in the user interface and the observer UI. That really helps quite a lot. And as you can see in the game itself, we have both players currently with exactly the same builds, going for the hatch first and then changing it up into the pool.
Yeah.
And in the Zerg versus Zerg, just to give you a few statistics to have a bit of background here. If you look at Live ZVZ in Heart of the Swarm, always focusing on the offline matches, of course, he has played in total 35 maps and he won 60% of them. He lost in the past actually quite a lot of his CVZ maps, and Bomber himself, a teammate of Live, said that he thinks that Live CVZ these days is quite shaky. If you go down the last 5 best-of-3s that Live played in this matchup, he actually lost 4 of them. He lost to Haiva, he lost to Sulky, he lost to Kangho, and he also lost to TLO. The only Zerg player that he defeated in a best-of-3 recently was Crazy. So maybe now he can turn things around, but what Bomber said, that Life is a little bit shaky in the mirror matchup, seems to be true.
Yeah, Bomber is obviously a really good mentor, of course, for some of his teammates, and he really knows what's going on in the house. You know, his word is basically the law.
Yeah, and as we have Suno on screen, let's talk a little bit about him. 26 maps played in Zerg vs. Zerg offline in Heart of the Swarm, and he won exactly 13 of them. That leaves him with a 50% win ratio. So Live still, after all these losses, a little bit stronger in the matchup, statistically speaking. But today it comes down to a single map, and either player is able to take them.
Yeah, very true. Speed started here very quickly for Life in comparison to Su, who's going for a more queen-oriented build, going for the minerals instead. In Zerg vs. Zerg, sometimes you have this where somebody just tries to get those queens out, block the ramp, sometimes make spine crawlers to defend. And a good scout here by Su, at least a good attempt. And you know what? He actually gets in the main here, and he will see the gas. This is really important.
Yep, he gets the gas, and Life was actually trying to take down the Zergling with one of his drones as well, trying to block it a little bit and maybe just take down the last 5 hit points. Didn't really work out too well for him, but at least Su gets the scout information, really important for him. What really impressed me about Life in general in his games against Haiva was that he always had very good builds. They were very technical, and they were kind of countering what Haiva was trying to do there. In both of the games that he lost, Life basically got quite unlucky, especially in the first one. By accident, he attacked the rocks instead of just attacking his opponent's units, and that might have cost him the game in the end. But the build itself was really well thought out, and I really liked that a lot. But now that he's scouted, Su is reacting, and he's not taking any chances. We have a double queen block already at the bottom of the ramp, now enforced with the evolution chamber that he's building here. So a decent setup that we have for Su. But Life currently doesn't really commit too much.
Yeah, he's adding 3 more drones right now, getting additional extractors. Does not look like he's going to be aggressive here. He starts a 3rd hatchery, so you can kind of see he's going to use his link speed to control the map while he gets that hatchery up. Continue to scout like he's doing right now. And he sees the wall, he sees the Roach Warren and the Evolution Chamber. So Life has some really good information. And also, looks like he's going to supply block Su here even further.
Nope.
Oh, barely not. 4 hit points left.
That's unlucky. If you set a queen on an Overlord, you really want to take it down, because that queen has now to waddle all the way back to the main base, and that's really just so annoying. Queens being so slow off creep. What Life is currently doing is take his third base a lot faster than Su does. But what we saw the SK Telecom Zerg player do is skip the gas for speed completely and just go straight into roaches. And that gives him a little bit of lead, especially with the +1 attack upgrader that he already started.
Yeah.
So Life has to be quite careful. This is one of those builds that Zerg do a lot these days, trying to skip the speed and going straight into the roaches for timing.
Exactly. Life is definitely going for more late game oriented build here. He's starting double upgrades, you know. That's obviously much more late game oriented than just one upgrade. 5 roaches already on the way for Su. He's getting roach speed. He's going to try to kill the third base. And look at this. Life actually gets to see everything, including the lair timing here, the gases. And he knows there's no third base. He can see that with his Overlord and his early right now. So Life knows all he needs to do right now is get ready to defend a big push, because if he can defend that, he'll have the much better economy, he has the much better upgrades. He knows there's only one evolution chamber for Su, and he has 2.
Life has to play passive, especially since he has the third base already, so he cannot hope to overpower his opponent just now. If he gets a few additional spine crawlers into the game, that would help him quite a lot. The problem for him really being that he has to defend 2 focus points. He has to defend his third and also the natural. But if he makes that happen, if he gets the 1-1 upgrades out just in time to defend against this attack, then he has a really good spot here. Zergling on buys could help him a little bit. Doesn't really get too many. In a straight up fight, the Zerglings don't help you too much, so that's one of the reasons why he isn't going for it. But Life does not see the roaches. He should know though, because he sees that there is no third base.
Yeah. And Su, he's getting ready here to move out. He's also spreading his creep forward as fast as he can here with these overlords, also bringing the queens very aggressively here. Life has his bases connected with creep. He's a bit ways away with 1-1 and the roach speed, but if he can buy himself a little bit of time, I mean, there's no real way for him to buy time, but if he can hold out a little bit longer, he will have all those upgrades.
Yeah, the problem really is Su kind of already missed his timing if you think about when the +1 attack upgrade completed, but what he doesn't know is that the 1-1 is still a little bit ahead, a little bit away. So he can actually take this. He could actually make this happen. And on the other hand, Life, if he postures around a little bit more, gets a few more roaches into the game, then he might be able to just make this work. He's taking down his own creep tumors now.
Yeah, and you know, he's got 10 seconds left on those upgrades, and here we go. Su goes for the engage. He has the upgrade advantage, but not anymore. Life pushes through. Does he have enough? Not enough roaches just yet. Needs reinforcements. 11 on the way.
1-1 is done, but so many queens, and oh my god, the sheer amount of roaches that Su is currently throwing against Life. It doesn't look like the StarTale player will be able to make this happen. He's rallying reinforcements out as best as he can and trying to actually also pull his Jones here. If he can hold, that might give him the position that he needs, but he's already losing harvesters. He still has the inferior roach production. He's trying though, and he might just be able to throw this back. All the queens for Su on the other hand, with one transfuser after another, really supporting these roaches, but I feel that Life might have it.
He may have it here. The queens doing their best. Life trying to push this back, and Su looks like he finally will be pushed back. Life will hold here.
Life holds, and it looks like he might also be able to stabilize. He lost a lot of harvesters here. He lost nearly 20 of them, but immediately he reproduces his drones, and that brings him into a position where he still is saturating 3 bases. So Life with a clutch hold against Su, and it looks like the SK Telecom 1 player is in trouble, and
He's in a lot of trouble, man. He doesn't have a third base. He just now starts it. He desperately starts +2 attack as well. Life managing his drones and his roaches very efficiently right now. He has that third hatchery. There's no macro hatch for Su. He's on 2 hatch versus 3, and that's always going to be a problem. Even though we saw right after that fight, Life pushed it back and Su is still up about 15 supply, Life has already closed that gap.
Usually when you see a player really pulling his drones, you already know that he will most likely lose that game. There are very few occasions where a player is really able to hold with SCVs or with drones, and in this particular scenario, Life was able to make it happen because he had a little bit of a buffer here. He had those drones at the front, they were tanking a lot of shots from those roaches, and that gave Life the time that he needed to get his own reinforcements into business. So really well played here by Life. But what he's doing right now is actually not investing into the 2-2. Instead, he's just going for even more units. I feel he wants to overwhelm his opponent here, or was a little bit afraid there might be a second attack. He delays his upgrades quite significantly and just now started the +2 attack upgrade.
I like how Life's constantly threatening with this one roach at the hatchery, making sure it's not being cancelled, first of all, that Su might go for a second wave of attacks, but also just making sure that Su has to pay attention to this roach. He doesn't want to lose a third of his hatchery hit points to one roach slowly working away at it.
What I really would like to know is, why did he attack his own creep tumors earlier? Did he really just try to slow down the approach?
You know, it made it so that the roaches couldn't go to his natural a little bit faster, but the creep hadn't even really fully receded. That would be like a really good question to ask Life. I feel like that's definitely the idea here, but was it worth it at the end of the day? He needs to rebuild those now.
I don't think it really was a misclick. Like, he killed not only one, but he killed like 2 or 3, so that must have been on purpose. And the only reason that I can come up with is that he really tried to just shut the creep down so that he buys himself a little bit more time, that the creep recedes and the roaches move a little bit slower. So maybe for the reinforcements. So
yeah, I think that's probably why it really seems to be the case. Let's not forget, of course, that Life does have +1 Carapace. That's something that Sue does not have. He will have +2, which kind of evens out a little bit until Life gets that own +2 for himself. He also has the Infestation Pit, which is going to allow him to add Infestors into the mix.
Yeah, that definitely is going to help him quite a bit, having the additional tech out there. And of course, by now he also has the additional Harvesters. If you look at the overall supply, then yeah, Sue is still a little bit ahead of his opponent since he has the superior Roach numbers. But Life could really start to utilize the second Evolution Chamber a little bit better.
Yeah, he definitely could. He has the resources to do so. He's just a little bit concerned, I feel, about possible attack from Sue. He knows that he's ahead economically. He's been ahead for a while, and all he needs to do is get these Infestors out, hold on a little bit longer. Carapace started for Sue, and those 3 Infestors, they're about to pop, but they do not have Pathogen Glands. He's not even started the upgrade because he knows he doesn't have enough resources to do all these things at once.
With the 3-base economy that he has, he can accomplish quite a bit, but against the numbers that we have for Sue in the game, he needs, of course, to make sure that he has his own army up to par. And here we move in right now. Those Fungals are the best weapon of Life right now. He can force an engagement, and he can also start to take away the hit points of those so many Roaches. Both of them are about to be maxed out. The better bank for Sue, the +2 attack upgrade just started for Life, but when armor is done, then they will be on even upgrades.
Sue just 8 army supply up, not very significant here. The better position for Life. He has the Concave, he has the Infestors, and Sue is on the run. He does not want to get bungled. One bungle does trap a lot of the Roaches, though. Life in full retreat, on the other hand.
Yeah, Life retreats for now. He's trying to force the next engagement. That Fungal already scared Sue a little bit. He's in a position where he knows that there is additional tech out for his opponent. Life is in a position where the time works in his favor. And here comes Sue. He knows that he has to go in. He wanted to wait for the upgrade. And here come those Fungals.
Beautiful
hitting immediately.
Oh,
and immediately the Roaches closing the distance, going to town. And both of them dropping in supply. But we have still such a massive bank for Sue.
And Sue's +1 Carapace is not done. Life having the much better upgrades here, but he's dropping in supply like crazy. Both of them 20 Roaches in production. The Infestors at the back, out of energy, not able to help. Sue may be able to break through here. It's going to be very close. His Queens, his Transfusers really, really helping him here.
Life is already moving to the bottom right. He's trying to catch reinforcements and trying just to delay the inevitable attack of his opponent. He's down in supply. The Queens are finally taken out by the reinforcements. Life is trying to put his opponent between a hammer and a hard place. This is really, really clutch, especially now since we have even upgrades for both of them.
Yeah, and you know, those Infestors that Life have are still the only real card he has in his hand right now, with Sue having a massive lead in army, and also his economy is seeming a little bit more stable right now. Life still has the Infestors alive. They are building energy, but Life's also going to lose this huge chunk of his army here.
It's quite incredible that Sue is actually able to get in such a dominant position now, considering how much he lost in the beginning, and that his opponent was already on 3 bases. Now he's moving across the map again. He wants to finish the job, and he is 50 supply ahead of his opponent. That +2 attack upgrade should not be done in time.
Yeah.
The Infestors are the only thing that Life really has. He's down 20, 30 Roaches.
Good Fungals so far, but are these 4 Infestors really going to turn the tide? He gets another good Fungal, but the Concave much better for Sue. He just has too much counter.
It's way too much, and he is completely overwhelmed here. Sue is moving in, and Life, he looked like he would be in such a great position being on 3 bases against 2, especially after he got his saturation up again. But now the Infestors, they are dying. The drones come off the mineral line, and this time it's desperation. It doesn't look like Life will be able to take game number 1. Sue stomps the StarTale player here.
He stomps him down here. Life obviously having some trouble recently in the ZVZ matchup. Bomber said so as well. Now Life down 100% supply.